Welcome to Christian Nutrition, the show where we review every single episode of VeggieTales chronologically. And by we, I mean just me. Today's a special bonus episode. We are going to look at something today that I didn't even know existed until like a month ago. That is called What's the Big Idea? And it's a newsletter that was put up by Big Idea back in the day, back in their heyday, back when they were huge. Mackenzie of For the Honor Productions was so gracious to let us use her copy. She scanned it and sent it in, and I'm legally obligated to tell you to check out her YouTube channel and her Facebook page, and the links are in the description. But seriously, we should all really thank her, as I wouldn't have any copies of this newsletter at all if it wasn't for her. And if anyone has one, feel free to send it to me on my Christian Nutrition Facebook page, which is also in the description. Please and thank you. I did also provide another link in the description if you would like to read it for yourself at your own speed, as I'm going to be going through this page by page, but if I go too fast or something, you can read it for yourself. Links in the description. So go ahead and check it out. With all that in mind, let's dive right in. If you take a look at the front page here, or the cover, as I would call it, then you'll see that Bob is thrilled about this newsletter. He is the original Grumpy Cat, maybe a Grumpy Tomato even. I love this page as it is Phil Vischer himself explaining what his goals for Big Idea were at the time and how the company grew with him at the helm. Well, really, it was like God at the helm, but you know what I mean. The most interesting part to me is now that it's 2017 is reading the people he was hiring to help him run the company. If you have read his book, Me, Myself, and Bob, then you know that a lot of these decisions played into the downfall of Big Idea, and I highly recommend reading that book. On page 3, we see the history of Big Idea from the time Phil Vischer started telling stories as a kid to the current day. Well, 1998 being the current day. You get the idea. I recommend reading this uninterrupted with that download link I provided. The next 2 pages are a timeline of Big Idea from 1972 to 1999. 1999 is mostly Phil just telling you what he aims for the company to be doing that year. I want to point out that at the end of 1996, they had sold 750,000 copies of VeggieTales. That's right, 750,000, and only had 12 employees. That's impressive. If they could have realized that more employees does not really equal more success, I mean, it does to an extent, then, Big Idea as we know and love would still be around today. Heck, at the end of 97, they had sold 2 million copies and had 35 employees. But you can understand why they thought more employees did equal more success, as they had 65 employees at the time of this newsletter with 7 million copies sold. That's insane. Pages 6 and 7 cover how Bob and Larry got started as characters, and you've probably heard the story like 100 times. I know I have. And, explains how Phil couldn't animate arms, and, he wanted to do Candy Bar, but his wife was like, you shouldn't do that because parents won't like that. And he's like, oh, okay. But what I do find most interesting about this is Phil talking about how important the eyes are. You aren't kidding, Phil. The eyes are the one thing that most people complained about when VeggieTales went from being VeggieTales in the House. The whole redesign that happened back in like 2014, I believe. Another interesting aspect is the explanation for what Bob and Larry, and now I say at the end of every episode, God made you special and he loves you very much. Apparently, Phil believes that when kids grow up and realize that Bob and Larry aren't real, if Bob said he loved them, that would be meaningless. But if he says God loves them, then it is true. Fair enough, Phil, fair enough. Page 8 is a coloring page, nothing really special here except someone already started, coloring and didn't finish what they started, which is now triggering me. Pages 9, 10, and 15 are a comic about Bob and Larry attempting to put up a sign about the 5th anniversary of Big Idea, but ultimately failing to do so. Now they decide to go talk to Phil Vischer and Mike Naraki about this, and what do you know, Larry has arms. I mean, not just regular arms, but buff arms, and I must say, I'm now permanently scarred. Thanks, Big Idea, thanks. Time for a commercial break. For the Honor Productions is a world-class 5-star perfect place to get your own personal filmmaking work done. I personally recommend them for their luxurious wedding videos, which I am now sure to get one of at my next wedding. Well, you know what? In fact, I may purposely divorce and remarry my wife multiple times just so that For the Honor Productions can make me more amazing wedding videos at affordable prices. Wow, that sure does look amazing. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Pages 11 through 14 are a poster that I presume you could rip out of the newsletter and put on your wall. And that's also why I'm assuming that pages 11 and 14 are essentially pointless pages, since they were, just the backside of the poster. Now, as I said, page 14 is pointless. It does have a thing where it says it'll send you 1 year's worth of Big Idea newsletters, and I'm guessing this was something you ripped out and was not actually on the page, but the way it was scanned, it looks like it's part of the page. But I'm guessing it's not. Page 16 is yet another coloring page that once again isn't finished being colored, and this is triggering me right now. The next page is a word search and a crossword puzzle. Now, thankfully, this hasn't even been attempted, so you can print it out and do it at, for yourself at your own pace. Just don't print off at page 18, which has all of the answers. Page 19 has a really cool poster for Larry Boy and the Rumor Weed. Like, I want this blown up and framed. That's how cool it is. Now, I wonder how many other cool alternative posters there are out there. What is on page 22, but is actually page 20 for us, which means we're missing 2 pages. Someone will pay for that, is Mike Naraki's backstory. Not as interesting as Phil's in my personal opinion, but it does give you some insight on him as a person. On the next page is Big Idea's mission statement with their 20-year goal. Little did they know that in 20 years, they would be on Netflix, making an alternative VeggieTales universe. But oh well. After that is just an envelope and some other pointless stuff. You can check it out if you want. But I do find it fascinating. This whole newsletter is fascinating. I've probably read it through like 4 or 5 times now. And it's great stuff. And if anyone, as I said earlier, if anyone has a newsletter they can scan or somehow get to me, that would be great. And I will make a review and I will shamelessly plug you. But once again, I do want to thank Mackenzie of For the Honor Productions for this newsletter. That was very fantastic of you. And all joking aside, thank you. Thank you. Now, who knows what the next special bonus episode will be? Maybe it'll be the fan-written entertainment episode, but yeah, it probably will be. Remember that God made you special and he loves you very much. Bye.